First of all, let's take a look at our friend. We're all getting to be intimately know him by now, the inimitable Paschal Voton. And we've developed two presentations about Paschal Voton. And in fact, I have them in text form on the website. I haven't as yet gotten the videos on, but when time permits. But we had actually, although I've spoken about it, probably about 5 times, there's actually 2 parts about the prophecy that he made in 600 AD about the culmination of life on the planet as we know it and a change to a new mindset to culminate on December 21st, 2012 at 11:11 p.m. or a.m. I'm not sure about that one yet. But anyhow, the point there was that what this person, and this is, whatever artists on the basis of description of what he looked like, whatever he said, the point he made was that the great change that would come upon the earth and the earth's people would culminate or be completed on December 21st, 2012. So in the first presentation that we did, okay, and that took a couple of weeks, I guess, we looked at the detail of what the Mayans, Voton, and the 2012 prophecy was all about. I mean, who were the Mayans? Who was Voton? How did they figure all this out? We went through all of the, the kind of, it wasn't boring, but the detailed stuff about what this was about. In the second presentation, which took a couple of weeks, we looked at what might possibly happen in the years leading up to December the 21st, 2012, which is now, as well as what already has happened. Now, there's 2 things to keep in mind, okay? When Paschal Voton spoke about this almost 2,000 years ago, what he was pointing out was that he foretold the development of the human race and the human mind to a point where industrial societies would lose touch with nature, and that as a result of that, problems would happen. That's one thing. The second thing he had to do, or he spoke of, was our existence based on man-made time rather than natural time. I mean, people made up 60 minutes in an hour, 12 hours in a day, and night, 24 hours in a day, and all this stuff, months and years and so forth and so on. But the months and the years and the days and the months and the minutes and so forth do not necessarily harmonize with the universe time based on the precession of the equinoxes. Back on the first presentation, we went into that in detail as to what that meant. And also, the types of time frames that man established does not harmonize with the solstices and the interaction with the sun. So, to be honest with you, what this guy Voton was saying is you're going to get to a point you're not going to know what time it is. And that's a problem. See? What time is it? We all say, oh, it's 7:24. No, it isn't. Not really. That's what we made up. Well, it's Friday. No, that's another thing we made up. All of these things don't really exist. They're made up by us so that we can try to, integrate our lives with one another and society and so forth. But these things such as time really don't exist. Okay. Now, I received an email from a person in California who was questioning me about the date of December the 21st, 2012. And he had a problem because what he said was, it's questionable because a lot of people have made changes down through the centuries and so forth and so on. And he says, so you really, you're off base in trying to come up with this 2012 thing. Let me show you the email that he sent me. What about the 300 years we are not counting? And Gregor 1, I don't know if many Gregory, who left us with no time for about 4 months. The year 0 in our counting does not exist between AD and before. And what about the Tara Papers by Robert Morningstar? I don't really know what that is. But anyhow, I guess he has explored this subject, and so he couldn't see how in the heck can you say December 21st, 2012 when so many different people have been involved in the Gregorian calendar or this other calendar or whatever. And so I answered him. And this was the answer that I gave him. I said the concepts surrounding the calendars of lost years or 300 non-counted years actually doesn't impact this at all. The prophecy was made for 2012. Now, let's say 300 years were not counted, and so it's really not 2012. Let's say it's not 2012, it's really 1712. The voice of Voton knew that we would recognize it as 2012 for whatever reason he had. And I agree that that in and of itself doesn't mean anything, okay? All right. Now, however, what we find from present-day science is that on December the 21st, 2012, our time, something is going to happen at 11:11 that has not happened in 26,000 years. The sun is going to align with the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way, and it will not happen again for another 26,000 years after that. In addition, NASA says that around 2012, the solar cycle will be the most intense since records have been kept, and also in 2012, the sun will flip. Now, so there is going to be a tremendous change in electromagnetic impulses coming to Earth. You can call it 1712, really, you can call it 1825, 1946, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't make any difference. Call it whatever date that comes into your head. It won't change the fact that on that particular day, which we call December 21st, 2012, there will be the culmination of 26,000 years on our time of the sun's movement through the 12 constellations. Now, I grant you, the 26,000 years are the way we figure things. If you were up into the atmosphere, up in the sky somewhere, maybe it's 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? There is no fundamental basis when you try to compare what goes on in the universe and time it, and then what goes on the Earth and time that. I mean, one doesn't relate to the other because there is no time up there. It happened. It's going to happen again. We say it's 26,000 years up there. They may say it's 2 weeks. So no matter how you measure it and say that day maybe is really 1825, all of this is still going to happen on that day. And you call it whatever you wish to call it. It just doesn't make any difference. So you just can't, come up with an idea of, well, we'll have to figure this out as far as the day's concerned because the universe doesn't follow our time frame. And the last I said, it has nothing to do with man-made time or man-made calendars. It has to do with the sun's movement through the ecliptic. And Pacal Voton picked December 21st, 2012, our calendar, and that's when it's going to happen. But the issue that he raised is an important issue for a lot of people. Because most people literalize and think that everything does run on our time, whether it be Eastern Standard or whatever, and it just doesn't. See? I mean, if the sun goes through the ecliptic, thanks. The sun goes through the ecliptic, which is the constellations, the 12 constellations of the zodiac, and we say it takes 26,000 years. Well, that's what we say. But it doesn't, because there are no such things as years and days and weeks and all that stuff up there. There is some part in the Bible that says one day is like 10,000 years. So if one day is like 10,000 years up there, then 26,000 years would be about 2.5 days. So this is then what Pakal Voton was referring to in 600 AD. Exactly what that person who wrote me and said, well, you know, we have 300 years missing here and an hour missing here and 2 weeks missing here, and then you're saying and all this kind of stuff. And that's exactly what this Pakal Voton referred to. And that's where we got off track. And let me show you what he said. Based on knowledge of the larger cycles of time as mapped by the ancient Maya, Pakal Voton knew that humanity as a species would become disconnected from the laws of the natural world and would fall ignorant of our sacred interdependence with nature. He also knew that modern humanity would be put to the test to see if we can regain our conscious connection to the natural time as the universal frequency of synchronization evolving beyond the construction of man-made linear time. You see? Because things that happen in a natural way are going to happen in the same way that they happen on the earth in a natural way. We're getting ready to move into summer. And we know that. We call it summer, although it's not. There is no name for it in the universe. It is. But we call it summer. And we know because we know the seasons of the earth. But the problem is we are absolutely dependent on the seasons and the so-called time of the universe, and we have no concept of what it means or what it is. It's critically important. Okay? Because Voton, what he said was, the time that we follow, that we've made up, throws us off completely from the actual existence and interaction of the universe. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going to happen because we don't equate the times that we've put together and connect it with what goes on among the constellations and so forth. I mean, there is nobody that doesn't know that when spring comes, summer comes, fall comes, winter comes, but we have no idea of when the seasons of the universe come. And the reason we don't know is what? Religion. If anyone starts talking about astrology or the impact that heavenly bodies have on people and on the earth, they're put down as a tool of the devil or some other stupid thing. Boy, I would like to, I can't get in and talk because there's something happened in this election here, but there was a couple of preachers. I don't want to get involved because you can get in trouble. A couple of preachers, big shots in this religious stuff, and they're supporting various, the candidate or whatever. And the one said that the Catholics are the whore of Babylon and all this stuff. And then he says that God sent Hitler to drive the Jews out of Germany and back to Israel. I mean, when you have support from people like this, what do you need? But it is absolutely so bizarre that thousands upon thousands of people file into these places every week for the stuff that they throw out. And it's all built around violence and taking this and taking that. And I can't say anymore. The age culmination that Voton talked about, and he didn't say December 21st, 2012. He said 000, whatever it was. And it plotted out to, when scientists did it, it plotted out to December 21st, 2012. All right? Because there wasn't, when Paco Voton, there was no such thing as December. Okay? So what we did, we made up the rest of it. You know, we made up January, February, we named it after Janus, and we named it after Mars, and we named all of these things. They're all Greek goddesses and gods and all of that stuff. Sunday is the sun, and Monday is the moon. So we made it all up. There was no Sunday, and there's no Monday. But you have to have some kind of identification so you know if you're supposed to be somewhere. You can't say, I'll be there. When? Well, I don't follow time. You got to make up something. Just like you don't have any names. Nobody has a name. Somebody made that up. You're just a person. But you have to be able to identify. You can't say, well, did you say so and so who? Well, you know, that person. So yeah, all of this stuff we made up so we can identify. But what the point here is that what is going to happen is that the sun is going to align with the center of the Milky Way on at a particular point. Okay, there's no day, there's no month, there's no year. But we, human beings, put together calendars and all that so we could keep track of everything, which is absolutely essential. And it comes out to December 21st, 2012 at 11:11, I believe it's a.m. And so that's for our own record keeping. Now, it just happens that on December the 21st, 2012, according, our record keeping, the sun, which does not work off of our record keeping, is going to line up at the center of the galaxy. So that gives, in other words, you see, if a Voton said it's 00013 or whatever, and the scientists come up, that's December 21st, 2012, well, that's the day, or that's the time when the sun is going to line up with the center of the galaxy. So the guy's right. See? I mean, if you were to meet him walking down the street today and say, December 21st, what the heck is that? He doesn't know. But he knew that it was going to happen on this particular day, which we translate on that particular day, and that's December 21st. And I hope you understand where I'm going with this. But if a person were to follow universal time, the time of the universe that Paco Voton was talking about, instead of man-made time of January, February, March, then we would know when things are going to happen. And it would be based on the changes of electromagnetic impulses hitting Earth and the human brain. See? I mean, we call a particular season in the universe Aquarius. Into or going into now. Well, however they came up with this or whoever came up with, but they're right. It's a time of invention, a time of industry and dreaming up stuff and all of this stuff, and it's true. So we know then, by understanding what the magnetic impulses does to the human brain, what's going to happen during that period. And that's what's important, see? Because once we understand and forget about time per se, and realize there is going to come a point where electromagnetic impulses are going to hit the Earth at different angles, and they're going to hit the human brain at different angles and going to change the way people think, then we're starting to work on cosmic time. And then we have a much better idea about nature and about how we're going to act and why we act the way we do. Global warming is a perfect example of a cyclical or a secular event. It happens all the time. It happens in a cycle. But global warming happening 500 years ago is no big deal. Got a little warm there, no big deal. Global warming happening now becomes a big deal because we have something they didn't have 500 years ago, and it's called pollution. So when we take our pollution and add it to the secular global warming, you got a big problem. And that's what's happened. See? The Earth interacts with the universe in such a way that you go through these warming and cooling cycles, global cooling, global warming. But you throw that thing all off when you overwhelm the interaction with this type of pollution. So the electrical interaction can't operate as it should because it gets blocked or whatever happens by the pollution. So that's what has global warming as a threat to the Earth, is that when we combine its natural properties, global warming, with our man-made properties of industrial pollution into the atmosphere, you got a big problem. And that's exactly what Voton said was going to happen. You're going to get so consumed with material things that you're going to totally lose grasp of your responsibility to nature, and you're going to neglect it, or you're going to hurt it, because you're going to say, look, we're not going to worry about nature. We got to worry about our economy. Bingo. The second part of the presentation we did is what might happen. I don't know what and I brought you information from NASA about that, if you remember, real quick. Okay? It says, a team led by physicist Masumi Dakapta of this research has predicted that cycle 24, this is a solar sun cycle, peaking in 2011 or 12, will be intense. And David Hathaway of NASA agrees 24 will be strong, 25 will be weak. So what NASA is saying is that leading up to the culmination date of 2012, in 2011 and 2012, the solar cycles are going to be intense. Okay. Solar cycle 24, due to peak in 2010 or 11, looked like it's going to be one of the most intense cycles since record keeping began almost 400 years ago, said Dave Hathaway of the Marshall Space Flight Center. So now here we go again. This data, Voton's, comes out to be 2012. And leading up to 2012, 2010 or 2011, it just happens that we're going to have a solar cycle that's intense storms and solar activity, most intense since records have been kept. Another coincidence, okay? The sun's magnetic poles will remain as they are now, with the north magnetic pole pointing to the sun's southern hemisphere until the year 2012, when they'll reverse again. Now, they always do. The sun flipping its magnetic poles is not a big deal. But what you have to stand back and say, now wait a minute here, the sun's going to flip at the same time that we're going to have the most intense solar cycles and disruption, and since records have been kept, what's that going to, and it's all going to happen around the time that Voton said, 2012. So you have to think about that. I'm not bringing you stuff here from some bookstore or something. This is stuff from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and what they're doing, not knowing it, is they're agreeing with Voton from 600 AD. Now, the reason that most people aren't aware of this 2011, 2010, 2012, and what goes on or any of that stuff is because our time is not figured on the basis of cosmic time, but rather man-made time. So it doesn't make any difference to us. We'll say, well, I hope it's not too hot, or I hope it's not too cold. Do you think it's going to rain? Do you think it's going to snow? Should I get a snow cloud? All this kind of stuff. But we never think of this. You think it's going to flip? You think it's going to be intense? We don't know. Does it make any difference? But it makes all the difference in the world. So, we just are a society, and basically the whole earth is a society that doesn't get involved with this. We don't think it has anything to do with us. We're just walking around. So we're left to wonder if the solar cycle is going to be bad, or if the sun flipping at the same time will be bad, and whether global warming and industrial pollution is going to factor into all of this change that Voton predicted for 2012. And all you know, all I know about global warming is what is discussed by the media. We have no idea that the other things are going to happen. And these things happen on a regular 11-year cycle. So that's what Voton said. And it's true. We cut ourselves off from nature and the cosmos, and we're ignorant of it. There's nobody sitting in here, or there's nobody watching on TV that doesn't know what's going to happen in the spring, what's going to happen in the winter. I mean, you all know. But you haven't a clue as to what's going to happen with the landlord, in other words, that controls where you live. You have no clue because you don't get involved, you don't pay attention to it. Wouldn't that be something if you didn't know whether it was summer or winter or spring or what it was? What is it? I don't know. Wonder if nobody knew what time it is. What time is it? Well, we don't keep time. Because there is no time. Oh, okay. When shall I be there? Just be there. So that's exactly what the overwhelming number of people on Earth experience. They have no idea of the season that will bring the sun flipping or an intense solar cycle or any of that stuff. They have no idea about the sun aligning with the center of our galaxy. It has nothing to do with them. They don't know that these things happen because they happen at cosmic times. And they don't realize that cosmic time exists, and that's what he said. So how are you going to prepare yourself for this? I mean, as far as the Earth seasons are concerned, you prepare yourself. You know you're not going to wear a fur coat in August. You know you're not going to go to the beach in February. And we wouldn't do that because we know what the seasons of the Earth are. But as far as what's required for the cosmic electromagnetic season, we haven't a clue. We have no idea. And what we do is the same thing as wearing a fur coat in August or going down to the beach in your bikini in the middle of February. Because we don't know. We're totally ignorant of it. There's another point we should consider. And we looked at it last week. And this is interesting. And we kind of left off last week with this, and it's a little scary. We have a very serious situation we covered last week where the bees are disappearing. Now, I mean, anytime you go on a picnic or went camping, that's what you wanted to happen. Get out of here. Get the raid. Whatever. Get rid of the bees. We're only 4 years from 2012, and the bees are disappearing. And Albert Einstein had made a statement, and this is what Albert said. If the bee disappeared off the surface of the globe, then man would only have 4 years of life left. No more bees, no more pollination, no more plants, no more animals, no more man. Scary. Think of that. We're 4 years from 2012. Albert said you got 4 years if the bees disappear, and the bees are disappearing. Is this a coincidence? Couldn't we, just think, let's go back and say we're 20 million years ago. Now we're going to come all the way to 2008, right where we are now. And we know all along, well, the only way that this Voton thing is going to come through or true is if, say with 4 years to go, the bees disappear. And you get to 2008, and lo and behold, you got 4 years to go, and the bees are disappearing. That's scary. And it should be, because they are disappearing. But here's the good part. They haven't disappeared yet. And why can't human beings take steps to make sure that they don't disappear? Why does Albert Einstein's prediction have to be fulfilled? Will we stop the factory farming of bees? What is that? They take bees, put them in boxes, and cart them all over the place, and then bring them inside, and they pollinate your stuff, and then for an amount of money, I'll bring them over, and they'll pollinate, and the bees are going nuts. That's not natural. Can we stop the pesticides that are disrupting the bees? Can we do more planning on where we're going to put shopping centers? I mean, do we need to have a shopping center every other block with a Walmart, 3 Walmarts all lined up? Can we stop blacktopping everything in sight? Why can't we do that? See? And when we do that, we can stop the bees from disappearing and not have to worry about what Albert said. But we haven't done that. And so if we do nothing, and this is what Al Gore has been saying, if we do nothing, then the human race has chosen to commit a form of suicide. And you can't blame it on 2012. You can't blame it on Einstein. You can't blame it on Voton. You can't blame it on Al Gore. It is because we choose to do nothing and instead force nature herself to stop us. Hey, Albert said, if the bees are gone, you're going to go. And what? What have we done to prevent them from disappearing? We've done nothing so far. We have time. We have time to do it. The point is, will we? You know the reason that we don't do anything is because we are trained through our schools and our churches and our societies that the earth and the cosmos are separate. That's out there. See, we're trained that the universe has nothing to do with our choices. And we've been trained on earth that what is our first concern? It has to be about making money. You have to be successful. And if that means you got to blacktop the whole state, that's what you do. If that means you got to take every tree down from here to Maine, that's what you do. Nothing can get in the way of our industrialization, and that includes nature. And that is exactly what is happening around the world today. And who made us do it? Who said, well, you gotta do all this because we gotta have an economy and you gotta work 3 jobs, you gotta do all this crazy stuff. And while we're doing it, the bees are flying away. Last week, if you remember, we discussed the need to reestablish our instinct. That is our link with the universe. That's what we call God. We don't have it anymore. We lost it. Because we're so consumed with our material wealth and our society that we've lost our instinct. We talked about, remember when the tsunami hit and thousands of people died? And they were going around collecting bodies after. It was terrible. But you know what? they didn't find the bodies of any wild animals. Not one. They couldn't figure that out. But then they realized that the wild animal's instinct told them that there was a natural event that was about to take place, and they all moved to higher ground, and they were safe. The very intelligent, advanced, industrialized human beings died. The monkeys and the elephants, no problem. Well, you know what happened? It happened last week in China. You know where they had so much devastation from the recent earthquake? Now, I'm going to show you something. It's really interesting. Watch this. Thousands of Chinese fled for cover in fear of an earthquake today, alarmed not only by warnings from seismologists, but also by an unusual mass movement of frogs. For the second time this month, residents observed a huge migration of frogs and toads, the state-run Xinhua news agency said. The May 12th earthquake, which left more than 71,000 people dead, missing or buried in rubble, also came after reports of unusual movement of frogs and toads. Internet blogs showed footage of frogs covering the streets of Mianyang in the days before the town in Sichuan province was ravaged by the earthquake. See? They're leaving. They didn't stop. A frog didn't stop and say, what are you standing here? You're supposed to know. But they're connected to God. That's what you want to call it. We are totally disconnected. Pull the plug on the lamp. That's where we are. It is the subatomic invisible quantum world that is connected to the frogs and to the elephants and to the monkeys, so that when nature is going to ravage, they know it in advance. We haven't a clue. Why? Because we're disconnected from our instinct. It's exactly what Pacal Voton said. You're going to get so carried off by the left side, you're going to totally disconnect from the right side. And this is what I have said over and over. It is absolutely essential that we regain our instinct, and that means the need for meditation. That's the only way you'll get it back. The only way that you'll get it back, because you have to shut down totally the activity of the left side in order to be able to receive from the right side. And that's why the Jesus of the Bible said, take no thought. Because if you take the thought of the left side, the earthquake or whatever it is will come and you'll die. If you'll take the thought of the right side, whatever happens, you'll have an idea. I'm not going there. I missed the plane. I don't want to go. Whatever, you won't be there. Not praying and asking for something. Not reading or expecting some God or angelic figure to fly down through the air. That's what religious people are waiting for. You know that? And you wonder why everybody's nuts. That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for some guy to come down on a white horse right through the clouds. How can a horse ride on clouds? And that is the worst part. That's why they're hoping for a nuclear holocaust in the Middle East. That's why they want us to bomb Iran. I'm talking about the religious people. So that Jesus will come back on a white horse. It doesn't make any difference if you incinerate millions of people. But they want to see Jesus riding down on a white horse. Remember when I showed you the Christian poster of the rapture? The word rapture is a Buddhist word. It means catching up. And that means raising one's consciousness to a higher light. But religious people think it means flying up into the air. And so they say, you'll see signs on their cars sometime. If this car is unoccupied, the rapture has taken place. It means they flew up. So I would hope that they would buy convertible cars. But I showed you this picture. This is an actual picture from a Christian magazine of this rapture. Take a look at this. Here they go. Here's this kid. She's got sandals on. They didn't even fall off, and she's flying up there at speed. And how can you talk to people like this? How's it possible? You can't. Here's the total misunderstanding of what it means to rise up and meet Jesus in the air. And yet, that's what these people are told by people in robes or people with big Bibles, whatever, and they're up Wednesday night. And this is what they're told. That's what they believe. You drive by any church and it's packed. That's what they believe. Earth, water, fire, and air to the new mind are the symbolic stages of the mind that one reaches in meditation, a la the Greek writers of the Bible. To rise and meet Jesus in the air does not mean that you are launched like some rocket out of Cape Canaveral. It means that your meditation, your consciousness, is lifted to a higher level, which is described as air. But you know what the biblical Jesus would say about these people? Forgive them, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I think he would say it just like that. And you know what they expect? This is what they expect to see. Jesus coming back on a white horse. Here he comes. Here he comes. This is Barnegat Bay right here. And here he comes. This is serious stuff to them. They believe that. Coming back on a white horse. That's a pretty picture. It really is. It's a beautiful picture. But the meaning of Jesus returning on a white horse means I and you regain our instinct or memory of who we truly are through meditation. Let's do a study of what's inside of your head, and we'll connect it to that. Watch. Revelation 19:11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he judges and makes war. Now that's the picture that religious people see of Jesus on a white horse coming down through the clouds. Pegasus. I want you to think of Pegasus, white horse, and flies in the sky. Pegasus, Greek, strong. I've kind of put the important words in red. White winged horse, son of Poseidon, the sea god. So we have a white seahorse. Pegasus was also regarded as the horse of the Muses. Muses were under the goddess Mnemosyne, who was the goddess of memory. That's where the word museum comes from. Muses, museum, memory. The Greek goddess of memory and the mother of the Muses. Mount Helicon rose heavenward. In other words, the mountain's taken off. Until Pegasus, on the advice of Poseidon, stopped its rising by kicking it with his hoof. And from this kick, there arose Hippocrene, the inspiring well of the Muses and the goddess of memory, Mnemosyne. So what do we have? We have a white seahorse connected to memory. Okay? All right. Let's look now inside of your head. You have a hippocampus in your head, And the word hippocampus means seahorse. Hippocampus, now this is from a medical dictionary, but the complex, internally convoluted structure that forms the medial margin of the cortical mantle of the cerebral hemisphere. Borders the choroid fissure of the lateral ventricle, but here's the good part, is composed of two gyri with their white matter. Wait a minute, we have a white seahorse. That's strange because Pegasus was white. His father was the god of the sea, making him a white seahorse. And forms part of the limbic system, a part of the brain in the lateral ventricle that is important to learning and memory. So in your head, you have a white seahorse who is responsible for memory. In mythology, you have Pegasus, who is a white seahorse who flies through the air and is important to memory. And in the Bible, you have the return of faithful and true, supposedly Jesus, coming on a white horse through the sky, which would be Pegasus. Now, here we're being told that the supreme light in the quantum realm that we call Jesus returns to the body and into the brain and restores our memory to our initial condition with the higher light. See, when you're a little kid, do you ever see little kids and they spin? Because they're still connected. We have to tell them, stop spinning, Howard. You'll get dizzy. And we break them of that terrible habit. And before you know it, they're no longer like the whirling dervish. They're one of us. None of us know anything. And we've broken Howard of his God connection. But what this does is this changing of the hippocampus of the brain through meditation enlightens us to prepare the ark inside of us for the coming of December the 21st, 2012. When we lose our harmony with nature as Voton, and we lose our natural instinct. And our natural instinct is which protects the animals from natural disaster, but it doesn't protect us because we chose to pull the plug on it. So Voton said, you know, you're going to be so engrossed in your material lives, you're going to lose contact and you're going to lose harmony with nature. And that's what we've done. We've lost our instinct, and we must, in our meditation, receive this light into our brain mind so we may once again connect to God and nature. But instead of this knowledge of the renewed mind, what have we been given by religion? The man coming through the horse over Barnegat Bay. Is it any wonder that we've lost contact? Is it any wonder that elephants and monkeys know better how to get out of the way of nature's dangers than we do? Because the silver cord has been cut, and we chose to cut it. And I guess the most frustrating thing about this, at least to me, is that the person religion is waiting to see riding on his horse through the clouds is Jesus, and he said this. And when he was asked by the Pharisees when the kingdom of God would come, he said, the kingdom of God comes not with observation. You cannot see it. No one will say it's here or it's there, but the kingdom of God is within you. How clear can it be? How obvious is it? And yet, what are they looking for? We're going to see it whether Jesus said so or not. The most anti-Christ people, I can really get in trouble, are them. The religion of the West has never been able to handle this, so they've always talked about Jesus coming back this way and setting up his kingdom, never understanding that what is being spoken of here is the kingdom of the human mind. Deep in the dark, invisible world of quantum lies the truth which is yours for the taking in your meditation. Within you is the kingdom, and that's what Jesus was saying. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right, that happens. You never know in advance when it's going to come to you. Sneeze just comes and you're unprepared. An elephant would know in advance. That
was coming before you.
Yeah, I know it. So the kingdom can never be seen. Only the results of its presence can be seen. Hey, how come people have started to get nice? Hey, they're not bombing each other anymore. What's going on down there, Jesus? Hey, look at that. They're taking care of sick people. That's novel. Where was all the poor people that were starving? Oh my God, they're feeding them. What's going on? So the kingdom, you can't see it. You can't see a Jesus. You never will. But the presence is acted out through the mass mind, and we see all the wonderful things start to happen. That's what Voton was talking about. But Paco Voton said there would be a time when enough is enough, and nature and all of its life would come and ask for the rent. Hey, you people have been living here all of these years. You've done a lot of damage to the property. And Paco said that the landlord is going to show up on December the 21st, 2012. Meaning that as we get closer to the date, we will see more and more startling things occur all around us. Now, I found a writing about 2012. And I found it on the internet. And the writing, it doesn't have an author's name. Because I never, you've never seen me, and I wouldn't do it. Never take anybody else's stuff without saying they did it, you know. And I'll tell you, other people don't work that way because there's a lot of our stuff is all over the place. But anyhow, I found a writing about 2012, and I wish I knew who the person wrote it because it's beautiful. Unfortunately, I don't know who wrote it, but I want to present it to you because I think it really tells us what is to be expected, and I think it says it in a way that's kind of easy to grasp. So let's read it together before we wrap it up here. Here's what happened during the last significant alignment 13,000 years ago, when the summer solstice was aligned with the galactic center, and we moved through the galactic plane to the left hemisphere of our galaxy. We had the birth of a new civilization, as evidenced by the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid. We had gods interfacing with humans, as evidenced by Egyptian hieroglyphics, with the creation of new technology and architecture, and a booming and fertile civilization arising in the Middle East. And sometime before that, there were major upheavals that appeared to have been earth changes. Thus, the rise of this new civilization seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. While our Western history books tend to date the rise of civilization more recently, science, the antithesis, that means the enemy of religion, in his history, has proven that our modern calendars and dating systems are wrong. And while this new civilization was born 3,000 years ago, not all was peaceful and harmonic during that particular transformation, as all probably won't be now. You know what's interesting there? The summer solstice of 13,000 years ago impacted the left hemisphere of our galaxy, which brought us to the point of new technology. And the winter solstice of December the 21st, 2012, will impact the right hemisphere of our galaxy, which is the God side, what we call the spiritual side. As Jesus said in the scripture, cast your net to the right side. Let's go on. This is really good. However, what the upcoming 2012 shift is all about is a new paradigm, one that is meant to move us out of the wars of gods and men which have had a debilitating effect on the planet as a result of the power structure that evolved nearly 3,000 years ago, and which grew to favor left-brained male consciousness over right-brained female consciousness. The 2012 shift is meant to transform human consciousness into one that is more equitable and balanced, and one that will birth a new consciousness in regard to the earth and life. In essence, we will be moving into a consciousness of universal life and out of the morbid, obsessive consciousness of universal death. It's great. Great writing. I wish I got to find out who it was. The phrase wars of gods and men is really interesting. Because what would be the wars of gods? The wars of gods would be tornadoes. The wars of gods would be earthquakes. All natural things that cause destruction, devastation, and death. That's the wars of gods. See? And the wars of men, what's obvious. And it's really sick. Really, really sick. Have you studied this with me? And Voton was so right on. You see, what we have intentionally done to the earth and the animals and to the structure of this magnificent thing that we're given to live on is just bizarre. Al Gore recently said that the severe cyclone in Myanmar was attributed to global warming. So that could certainly be a war attributed to the gods, and that's what that's meant. But the war attributed to men and just dropping bombs as long as I've been alive, that's what they've been doing. You know, I thought of Senator Ted Kennedy and his brain tumor. Joan, you want to click the next one? Millions of people have suffered what, Senator Kennedy is going through. And he's no more, no less than, anybody else that has a cancer diagnosis. But what have human beings done? Instead of spending billions and billions and billions of dollars in an effort to cure the disease, we have taken the money and spent billions and billions and billions of dollars so we can drop bombs on people. How can you take any god, whatever would exist up in the sky, and say, God bless us, and send Jesus back on a horse? I would. If Jesus would come back on a horse, they would shoot him down with a missile. I'm telling you, they would. They're saying, this is too much. All right, launch it. But see, after we spend billions of dollars, and not just here, Russia, all over, we spend billions of dollars to blow people up. We leave people starving. We leave people with cancer. We leave people with no place to, and all of this stuff. People are going to turn around and say, why did God let this happen? What do you mean, why did God let this happen? Why'd you do it? You voted for these people. Why is there so much suffering in the world? Because we chose to violate the principles and the beauty of nature, as Paco Voton said. And the answer to that is, and that is obvious, what we anticipate will be the central point of the great mind change to culminate on December 21st, 2012. Will it be the salvation? There has to be a mind change. And Voton said it would come with the anticipated culmination on that date. Let's go to the next one. This will allow us to finally reconnect with the cosmic life force, because we will once again be able to recognize it for what it is. This will also provide an opportunity once again to be good neighbors to our galactic community, instead of engaging in star wars, such as in the past when opposing forces took refuge on our planet and other planets and continued their totalitarian wars, including calendar wars under the guise of governments, religions, and fraternal organizations. These events were all designed to manipulate and control the cycles of consciousness. And that's what they do. They're over there right now in Iraq because we want them to have a democracy, whether they want it or not. The manipulation of the mind by religion, government, and corporations who strive to control the mind to do its bidding is what hopefully we will see coming to an end very soon. It's the exciting possibilities that connects us with Voton's prophecy and what might take place. Look, when you are out of sync with the natural cycles, the birthing process can be painful. If you resist, the pain is even greater. Many on our planet are testing this transformation, particularly institutions and government structure. We will see many destructive reactions to the natural cyclical changes as a result. On the other hand, the birthing process, when one is in tune with one's body, the earth cycles and the cosmos, can be beautiful and awesome. We can then experience the natural death of old life as it makes way for the new with minimal discomfort. There will be opposition to this change, and that's, you're seeing it. There are people that they don't want anything to get in the way of their dollars and their material things and their control of the systems. So it's going to be troublesome. What's this? Many people in the past have predicted the end of the world and the second coming of the Messiah and have been proven wrong time and time again. The mystery of birth, death, and all cosmic cycles is within you. You are one with all of humanity and all of the cosmos and are the past, present, and future. You are the one. The December 21st, 2012 end date is only one key to understanding your multidimensional capabilities and learning how to use them. The physical world itself will not end for many, either by choice or by karma. What will end, hopefully, is a long and violent cycle of terrorism, war, death, destruction, desecration, mass manipulation, and cover-up, which will allow us to reclaim and nurture the natural cycles of the cosmos, to the earth, and the goddess within. Well done. What a beautiful possibility. Replacing the complete misunderstandings of religion and the real promise of nature and the supreme light. Changing the minds that have been so responsible for wars, for starvations, for sickness, by using their power to fight and kill rather than to love and heal. Here's the final part of his statement. That will give way to a new heaven on earth. And for those that get it, it will reintroduce the ability to communicate with the multidimensional gods once more. Last, it is worth noting that these gods are no more sacred than we are. We too will awaken to our multidimensionality, heralding the second coming of the Messiah. All in all, we are all one. The outcome of the upcoming 2012 transformation is to reconnect us to our cosmic origins and the divine, which are both within us and around us. All that the December 21st, 2012 end time date does is provide us with a point of reference. For those who make it that far, the path home will be less strenuous. For those who have resisted the natural cycles and subtle energies by subscribing to a linear and superficial history and timeline, the 2012 end time date and the ensuing outcome will be their Armageddon. So it's a beautifully written piece. I really would have to find who did it. And then as we conclude, I just thinking, how is it that those in the public eye, both politicians and preachers, will encourage war in the Middle East to kill and destroy, and then in the same breath refer to themselves as followers of Jesus Christ? The same Jesus who said not to kill, the same Jesus who said sit down and reason with one another. The same Jesus that said, heal the sick, visit the person in prison, help the poor, is extolled by those who live in mansions and scream for bombs to drop on Muslims so the Prince of Peace may return. They don't get it, folks, and they never will. That's why you've got to leave them, enter in within yourself, and allow that beautiful, wonderful being of light to enter within you and prepare you, restore your instincts so that you just float through all of the great changes and really take part in this new heaven on earth. Amen. But nobody be here. Okay, welcome everybody to Hidden Meanings, and let me give you close in with me here, and we'll look at where we're at and what's going on. Hidden Meanings Conference Center, Village Green Shopping Center, Route 9 in Forked River, New Jersey. And our phone number is 609-971-0537. Our email info@hiddenmeanings.com, and we're here Friday at 7 p.m.